everybody? This is your man Young Squalor with another Always Everything with Young Squalor podcast. And today I got a guest with me today. Special guest, if you can introduce yourself for me, please.
Yeah, hey, I'm Wally Bartfay from Oshawa, Ontario, Canada. Yeah.
Canada. See, Canada has been on the news a lot lately.
Yeah, I know you guys, down in New York and things, they were blaming us for all the forest fires,
Yeah.
all the smoke down there. Yeah, it's been a lot of crazy forest fires happening across Canada. It's
Yeah.
really crazy. And this morning, I was watching a little clip. It was really
Mhm.
cool. They flew in some firefighters from South Africa. And when they
Wow.
landed it in Edmonton Airport, they did this really cool dance, about 50 or 60 of them. When they landed, it was
That's
so cool to
cool.
watch.
That's
uh,
cool. So I hope everybody's safe up there. Did they ever put the fire out?
well, they're still working on. They got a good chunk of it because the winds changed here in
Right.
Ontario and Quebec. So the wind has given them a break because it's kind of blowing it back into the backburn. So there's no fresh fire or no fresh fuel, I should say. But it's still a challenge. They haven't built water bombers. I think for many decades now. The old Canadian water bombers,
Right.
Bombardier, making them. And there's a lot of talk they should start making the water bombers again and update them because there's a great need, not just here, but around the world. In California, every year they have the fires and what have you,
Yep.
but around the world. So, it's a challenge, right? So,
Definitely is. So
yeah.
let's start. I want to get a little bit of like the audience familiar with you and what you do. So if you can just give us a brief, you know.
Yeah, sure. Glad to do so. So I'm a professor by profession. I teach at Ontario Tech University here in Oshawa, Ontario. I teach public health and epi, but my students call me the Rockin Prof because this title kind of or this kind of nickname started a little over a decade ago or so. When you have freshmen coming in and you try to break the ice, especially first year, big classes, kind of intimidating, 150 people in a lecture hall. How
Yeah.
do you break the ice? And the best way to break the ice is with music, right? Because it's a universal language. So you play a song or something, you put yourself out there, it breaks the ice, it kind of sets the vibe, it gets students relaxed, and that's how I was known as the Rockin' Prof. But my influence is really I would kind of the genre is kind of like country rock.
Okay.
So when I was growing up in Quebec, in a place called Chatigui, it was a suburb of Montreal. And during that time, when I was a kid, there was lots of fields and apple orchards and things like that. And I would go to the basement and I would listen to the Rolling Stones, Fleetwood Mac, and Bruce Springsteen and Tina Turner, who just passed away
Okay.
unfortunately this year.
Yeah.
My mother loved Tina. Everybody loved Tina, and I would play air guitar, right? Because I couldn't afford a real guitar until I was about 14. So I was pumping gas at my mission, cutting lawns, and doing things like that. And then I bought this secondhand guitar for about 50 bucks Canadian, and
Okay.
taught myself to play along with a whole bunch of other instruments and things like that. But my first exposure, performing was actually my cousin Irene Bellin and my sister Kathy and I, and we put on concerts for seniors, in the senior homes.
Right.
And they have a lot of seniors during the holidays who are neglected, and they're alone. And we wanted to give back to our community, and a lot of veterans were there as well. We can't forget about our veterans. And my
Yeah.
mom and my aunts would make cookies and cakes and everything. So it was a really good feeling,
That's nice.
to connect people with, during the holidays with, playing some music for them and make them feel good. And so it made us feel good too. It's very, touching for the heart. And then in college, I was playing in some coffee houses and that with a friend of mine called Danny Arsenault, who unfortunately passed away. We used to play in coffee houses and things like that. And then life happened, going to school, kids,
Yeah.
work and everything else. And I had the guitar sitting there collecting dust for a long time. And then during COVID, because we're all locked down, we weren't allowed to go on campus. We weren't allowed to even go, shopping. It was only 10 people in a store or something. It was, a lot of public health measures were intact, and we're all going stir crazy. Picked up the old guitar, dusted it off, started to write songs again. Wrote something like 30 or 35 songs during COVID. And then I met up with a gentleman named Stephen Wrench from music and film, and Wayne Killis and out in Nashville, recorded some of my tracks. They did 3 of them. She's the Boss from Hell, It's Friday Night, and my new release, Ball and Chain. And it's charting on the Euro charts and the World Indie charts. It's Friday Night hit #2 on the World Indie charts last week or so. So it's just amazing. Like the last 5 months or something, it's just been amazing. Kind of ride with the music there. But music is also special to me because I was doing some research with music therapy and helping patients with dementia. My dad, who passed away last year, he had many conditions, heart failure and kidney failure, but he had a vascular dementia. There's about 100 different types of dementia, but Alzheimer's is the most common, and vascular is the second most common, following some strokes that he had. And his short-term memory went, and then eventually even their long-term memory starts going. And often, they've been married to my mom for over 60 years. And sometimes she would come in his room, visit him in the nursing home. And ironically, he was placed into the very same nursing home that we used to do those Christmas concerts at. So, life goes around, right? It's a big wheel there, my friend,
Right.
So it was a real, we came full circle there. So he was in that nursing home, ironically. And when you would sing these old folk songs and that to him, he would light up, if he was a lot of dementia patients, very disengaged, and they have their head down and so forth, and they're not connected with their environment. But as soon as you played music, he would become a new person. He would light up and everything. So it was that was kind of really nice to see with him. So and I've done some research here at Ontario Shores Center for Mental Health Sciences with patients with dementia, and looking at personalized music interventions where we would create a playlist for patients with their family. And they could be into R&B, they could be into gospel, they could be into country or rock or whatever they were into, and their favorite songs. And a lot of these patients suffered from BPSDs, behavioral and psychological symptoms of dementia. And it's things like aggression, agitation, and they have hallucinations, and there's many. They could be aggressive, and in the way that they traditionally kind of deal with that is with medications. Medications, of course, have a lot of side effects. So we try to look at some of these patients and use non-pharmacological interventions. So things like light therapy, some robotic pets like dogs. We're talking about dogs before. Cats and things. They're little. We can put it in your lap and it calms them down, and also music. So we did like baseline, and then during the session, how many BPSDs, and then afterwards too. Right. So to see if we can calm down these patients, make them more relaxed, increase their quality of life. And music really is medicine for the heart, the soul, and the mind, I argue. And my first real clinical experience was at back in the 80s in a Douglas Hospital in Montreal. And I was reading through a patient's chart, and there was this her daughter of a patient there. And I noticed that she said that she needs to play piano. And she was very disconnected from the environment too. And we put her in a wheelchair, and I remember we rolled her into the common room, and there was a piano there, an upright piano. We placed her hands on it, and she just woke up. She started to play, and
Wow.
she played, and you can just see the pleasure in her face. And her daughter was crying because she hadn't seen that for
Wow.
years, so disconnected. And we had to stop her, and the only reason we had to stop her because lunch was being served in the other room. But she played like for an hour and a half, and you can just see the joy that she had. She woke up again, right? So memory, if you do a CT scan or a scan of the brain with these, patients with dementia, and they're in that advanced state, right? There's the different stages of dementia. There's not much colors that show up on the scan. As soon as you're playing music, or they get them to play music, their brains just light up on the scan. It's like a totally different person. So music's really magic in that sense, and we're only starting to look at some of the benefits of using music, for treating patients. And this is something that's been around for actually thousands of years, and we're only really rediscovering it. So if you look at the symbol, the Chinese symbol, if you look at the Chinese symbol for happiness
Right.
and music, they're identical. The Chinese character for music and happiness are identical. Now, the Chinese symbol for medicine is happiness and music with a little horizontal line and two lines on top means plants. So identical. So there was always that association. The ancient Greeks used music therapy to promote sleep, reduce pain. We have Hindu healers and indigenous populations in North America and in Africa and around the world, Australia. They use the repetitive drumming, right?
Mm.
Chanting as part of their healing practices. We're only starting to rediscover music and some of the benefits about them. There's also binaural beat therapy that you may have heard of,
Yeah, I know
where
about
you
that.
can, yeah, so there's different frequencies, right? So
I use
binaural
that
beat,
myself. I use that
yeah,
one. Yeah.
yeah. So people are trying to rediscover that, and if a binaural beat is really an auditory illusion, right? So if you have headphones on and you have one side 310 hertz and the other one 300, right? The binaural beat will be 10, the difference between the two. But we don't really hear 10 hertz. The human ear can only hear between 20 and 20,000 hertz
Right.
at best, right? That's if you have perfect hearing, right? So it's an illusion, but it's an auditory illusion. And if a binaural beat is played over time, it can synchronize with your beat, with your brain waves. So we can alter brain activity and different levels of arousal. And this was first discovered about 1839. A guy by the name of Heinrich Wilhelm Dove, and he didn't have earphones back then, so he used different tuning forks to try to come up with this. But the real first study was only in 1973 in Scientific American. A guy he was a biophysicist by the name of Gerald Oster, and it was a paper called Auditory Beats in the Brain. And he said it could be used as diagnostic tools,
Mm-hmm.
for not only for neurological disorders, but for also things like Parkinson's disease and things like that, and also potential diagnostic tool. So we're only really, rediscovering some of the benefits of music, and especially in memory. Like music is the last one to go. Really, it's really, really deep in the brain for patients with Alzheimer's. So that's kind of my connection with music. I kind of research it, some of the benefits, and some of my history, and I taken up music writing again. Which really I really brings joy to my heart when I see people smile and enjoy my music, and that is
Right.
it's magic, right? It's magic, right? It's
Definitely.
priceless. Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. So I'm gonna take back a little bit. You was talking about how you use music as an icebreaker for your students.
Yeah.
So how exactly is that impacting your so like aside from the social aspect of it, how else is it impacting the lectures in your class?
Well, we just use it at the beginning to sort of like break the
Okay.
ice, right? So when students come in, in some of my classes, I'll have a little bit. I'll actually have a assignment or something related to music therapy and dementia. I'll have them do a case study on it
Okay.
in that. So there's implications for public health and for epidemiology and for medicine and nursing and so forth. But I just play a song, a couple minutes at the beginning or a section of it, kind of breaks the ice. So it's makes them feel good, puts them in a certain mood, and you
Okay.
want to create sometimes a certain buzz in class,
Right.
uh, especially with first year students. They're coming into high school, they're going to university. It's 150, 200 kids in the class. Nobody knows anybody. Music's universal language, right? So everybody can relate to music, regardless of the genre you're playing. It's a universal language, right? We all, there's a song, 99 Red Balloons. You probably remember a
Hmm.
little bit while back. So I like the German version more than the English. So it doesn't matter that you don't know that it's in German, right? But
Right.
everybody likes it, right? Because it kind of gets you going, right? And that's the thing about music. It has certain frequencies, certain vibes, certain rhythms. It creates certain tones, right? And it puts you in certain moods, and that's what I call it's a universal language. You don't have to speak the language. You just there's certain music that touches us on different levels, on different dimensions. That's why music is magical. I would
Right.
argue.
So can you tell us about your songwriting process and does your background in education influence your lyrics at all?
That's my. I didn't hear the second part. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Does your background in education influence your lyrics at all?
Yeah, so my lyrics come from life experiences. I'm not 16 anymore. So you've been lived in 5 provinces, traveled to
Uh,
30 countries, seen a lot clinically and outside, relationships and what have you. So all of those, dealing with aging parents or sick individuals, sick parents, and what have you, all of those are avenues for influencing my songwriting. And what I like about, I say genre country rock, is what I like about the country component is the storytelling. Like the Eagles in Alabama and Gordon Lightfoot, the great Canadian who just passed recent this year as well, unfortunately.
yeah.
We lost Tina Turner, but we also lost Gordon Lightfoot here in Canada. And a lot of his lyrics were, about the Canadian life, the Canadian railway, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald and things. Storytelling, and I would be listening to that as a kid also, growing up, and I like to tell stories in my song as well. So that's where that kind of country rock kind of hybrid comes in. But modern country, it has a little bit of everything in it, right? You'll see have a little bit of
Right.
hip, a bit of pop, I mean, and rock and art, rhythm and blues. It has a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So it's feeling. So yeah.
So what is one of the most memorable moments of your student or most memorable student reactions to the music being played in the beginning of the classroom?
Oh, it's great when they stand up and they start like dancing or they applaud or it's like that. It's like giving a concert, right? So
Right. Yeah,
like
that's
that to me is like, hey, that's really that to me is like fantastic. So that's a great feeling, right? So that's a really really great feeling. And because when you go into university settings and colleges and that, it's very formal. A guy walks in, You
Right.
know, the prof walks in, stands in the front, starts putting stuff on the board, you copy it down. You know, it's very mechanical, very robotic, very rehearsed, right? So you try to do something a little bit different. You know, how do you get students interested? Like you say
Right.
epidemiology, you know, epidemiology. It takes, you know, students a while just to get so many syllable words. What the hell
Yeah.
is that, right? What are you teaching? Sounds complicated, you know, and everything
Right.
else. So use music, break the ice, right? Give them some examples. You know, get students talking, asking questions, and that helps them do it too. Because a lot of students will sit there, they have a question, but they're scared to, you know, ask questions in class. But if
Yeah.
you can break the ice, then they feel more relaxed with you. You know, they feel like I think this guy's okay. I can talk with him. You know, he's okay. He's pretty cool. You know, he's down to earth. He's one of us. Maybe I can talk with them. If not in class, maybe after class. So that's what I want to do. I want to break down those barriers. So I use
Right.
music to break down those barriers, you know, stereotypes. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I was like, listening to music while I'm at work, like it definitely makes it go by a little bit more smooth, you know, versus
Oh,
just trying.
yeah, for sure. Or driving long distance, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I went to visit my mom a little while ago, and so I'm kind of commuting from the GTA, the Greater Toronto area, to Montreal. It's about a 6 hour drive.
Mm.
And if you don't have music on the 401 highway, it's you got to have, you know, and music that pumps you up as well, you know, that you want to sing. So then those road trip songs. So you put together a playlist, you know, and you know,
Right.
and the time goes away so quickly, right? It seems like an hour. It's not 6 hours. It's an hour, and then it makes you feel good, right? For sure. Yeah.
So what made you want to start reaching out to podcasters and everything to try to like tell the story about?
Yeah, I've been encouraged, but you know, some students said that too to me. Say, you know, you should put your music on YouTube and things like that.
Oh yeah.
Um, you know, before I just had some lectures on YouTube, so this is something relatively new to me. And then I did not only YouTube, they said, you know, Instagram and TikTok and Twitter, you do the whole 9 yards, you know, and
Yeah.
LinkedIn. I said, and then you know, and then people comment on it, and they said, yeah, reach out, you know, spread the story, tell your story. It's an interesting story. So that's what I'm trying to do. And hopefully I can inspire some people and help them with my research on music or, you know, families that are struggling with, you know, various neurological disorders and maybe music therapy or something, maybe something they can do. It's relatively inexpensive. You know, the one that we did at, here at Ontario Shore Centre for Mental Health Sciences, a lot of these patients, you can't put on headphones on them because some patients, if you touch them, they get aggressive and it kind of freaks them out when they're getting advanced. They don't like to be touched and they don't like to have foreign things on them. You can't even put their name band on, right? The patient name band because they'll try to remove it. It agitates them. So we had parabolic speakers, directional speakers. You know, when you're at a crosswalk and you hear the beep, 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 person standing 10 feet away won't hear. It's only at the people at the crosswalk. And that's the idea, right? So you put
Right.
them in their room or in a setting and just directs it towards them. So it doesn't disturb other patients. It's around about $60, right? You can get a good,
Okay.
you know, a fairly decent set for $60. So it's in terms of healthcare spending, it's not that much. And then we looked at not only, you know, in terms of medication, but staff time, right? To deal with someone who's upset or hallucinating, it takes a lot of staff time. So we did cost benefit analysis in terms of saving, right? SWOT analysis is strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. We did a SWOT analysis. So we did a multi-dimensional analysis, you know, baseline measures during and post. And there's no side effects with music, right? There's
Mhm.
not like many medications, especially for old folks. A lot of drugs are metabolized by the liver, excreted by the kidneys. Sometimes too much of it's not good for them, you know. It could be potentially toxic, certain medications as well, you know, if it's not
Yeah.
metabolized well, and have other side effects associated with them. But there's no side effect with music, right? There's absolutely no side effects. So when they leave too, they go back into a nursing home, right? They can take those speakers with them and use it to, you
Yeah.
know, as an intervention, a non-pharmacological intervention. to improve their quality of life. That's what I would argue. So hopefully that will catch on as well. That's why I want to spread the message that we should be looking at music therapy, as well. Music makes us dance, right? It makes us feel good, right? It
Right.
makes us
Yeah.
cry, makes us laugh. It does everything, right? But it's also medicine. That's the message I want to get across. It's also medicine, for the heart, soul, and the mind. Right? That's what it is. Yeah.
It definitely is.
Mm-hmm.
Music can make you feel happy, but music can make you want to dance. Like you said, it basically it can control your how you feeling at the moment.
Yeah, for
If
sure. Yeah,
you're sad, it can bring you up.
that's right. Yeah, I was teaching one night, I remember, and it was a Friday night, and Canadian winters are horrible.
Oh man.
And it was cold outside and everything else, and students are showing. It's 7 to 10 o'clock class. Everybody's dead tired. 7 p.m. It's a terrible time to have a class. I remember, and I can see everybody was exhausted and everything else. And I said, I just said, okay, guys, I'm going to do a little drum beat with you. I just want you to copy me. So I just started to, do a little bit of the
Right.
drumming. And then they started to, at first they were like reluctant. After they were like going crazy. And we did that for about 3, 4, 5 minutes. I don't know how long it went. And then everybody was energized, right? Everybody was
Yeah.
awake. Everybody was happy. All of a sudden the mood changed like this. And all we did was I just started a beat, copy me. I just want you guys to do this. Get into the beat. I just want you to take your energy, focus it on that table,
Right.
get out frustrations of the day. I'm frustrated too because I got to be here at 7 o'clock at night, and when it's winter and cold, I don't want to be here
Mm-hmm.
myself. Let's just get our anger out on the tables, and
Right.
that's what you do. That's the music, that's what I'm saying. It's the magic of music, right? So
So I know you said that you started doing music as a teenager, right? So what is
well, before that time, actually, like I took a couple of accordion lessons, maybe when I was like
okay?
9 or something, or tens, but yeah, so yeah.
All right,
Yeah, but
so
very, very young, yeah. But my first guitar that I bought was 14. That's when I got my
okay.
my first guitar, yeah. And then I would play it in the tool shed out back until my fingers bled. So
That's
yeah.
yeah, that's what happened. I must say because I was dabbling with music as well. So I know the feeling when you get the new instrument. I definitely know
Yeah.
the feeling. I definitely know the feeling.
Well, it was special because I earned it. It
Yep.
wasn't given to
And
me.
then it was
So you
yours. Yeah,
appreciate things in life that are not handed to you, right? So
exactly.
and I worked for, like I said, pumping gas and cutting lawns and, fixing fences, whatever I could do. And $50 back then for a kid was a lot of money for a secondhand
Mm,
guitar, a secondhand store. But hey, I did it, right? I really wanted it. And
right.
you stay focused, and you have a goal, and that's what you go for, right? Yeah.
Hmm. So, when did you decide to get into education?
Oh God, kind of fell into it. Yeah, it's I liked being with people. I liked when I was a teenager. I worked as a lifeguard, and I really liked working with people in the public. And I actually got into becoming like an instructor, they call it. So you were teaching courses for lifeguards and resuscitation and things like that. And if somebody breaks their neck in the pool, how do you take them out? There's different methods and whatever. So
Right.
that was my real first teaching experience. And I also had the opportunity, during my youth to work with some handicapped kids. It was swimming as well, teaching them swimming. But these kids were disabled. They may have had a limb missing, like no legs or an arm missing or something.
Mm,
So it was a little bit of a challenge to teach them swimming. You don't have the same
right.
approach, so you had to look at different creative approaches. And everyone at the end was swimming. So it was very rewarding to see someone who wasn't swimming at the beginning of that particular sessions that we had
Right.
10 sessions or 12 sessions, and at the end they were all swimming, front and back and so forth.
That's good.
Yeah, so I kind of I like that. I like giving back and problem solving with the teaching process. So that was my first experiences actually teaching. So yeah, that was
That's
that was
pretty.
when I was a teen. Yeah, yeah, teens I would call it. Yeah, a few years ago.
And I like to say I'm glad that there are educators like you that actually care about the student, that's not just in
Well,
it
thank you.
for themselves, because there's a lot of
Mhm.
people who don't really care. They're just going doing it because that's something that they have to do. I
Mhm.
definitely appreciate that.
Yeah.
So looking ahead, what are your plans and goals for your music career and your education career?
Well, my education. Well, I'm planning to actually retire next year.
Ah,
Yeah, so yeah, I've done it all. I've done lots of directorships. I was director of the health science program, allied health, director of research. I was associate dean.
that's cool.
I mean, I did everything I wanted to do academically. I've done lots. I wrote 6 books on, community and public health. I've done everything I wanted to do,
That is
research and so
great.
forth. I like to continue on after I retire, still doing music and working with patients with dementia and things like that, because my own kind of connection with my dad who passed
Right.
last year. So I like to give back, to my community there. In terms of my music, I would like to continue to work with Stephen Wrench, Wayne Tillis down in Nashville. I have some songs, but there's only so much you can do in a home studio yourself.
Yeah, I know
You
how
have
that
some better
is.
mics and you're recording the bass track yourself, and you try to
Right.
do the drums, you try to do the electric guitar, the rhythm and everything
Very,
else
very
on
tedious.
there, synthesizer. I mean, I'm a one-man band, right? So
Yeah.
you need someone who's been in the business a while, knows how to mix down a track properly, get a band in if necessary to record it, and then so that's what I'm planning to do some more releases with them. I have about 8 songs in queue right now.
Okay.
I like to put out an album, so the album will be called Timeless because a lot of these songs have a time theme in it. Reminiscence. If I had 5 more minutes, for example, there's a song called five more minutes. If I had 5 more minutes to go back in my youth or back in time, what would you change? Right. So it's a
Right.
philosophical
Yep.
question. Might have been, in this case, it was a girl or something that you met that you kind of hit it off, but she was going with somebody else and living with the guy at the time and didn't want to, kind of in that weird relationship. But if I had 5 more minutes, I would say, hey, you should have came with me, sort of thing. And so, yeah. But that's the idea of the time theme, right? So, you know, uh, I have some songs. I mentioned "She's the Boss from Hell," charted with music and film out in Nashville. That was on the charts. Again, life experience. Everybody has a bad boss. So I wrote a song about that. So she was the boss from hell.
Right.
It made it made number 9 on the Euro indie charts, number 12 on the world indie charts. And
That's
then it's Friday night is a good honky tonk song. It's a dance song. It's just to feel good. You work all week. Friday night comes, you just want to go and burn off some steam in a local honky tonk bar and go dancing with a pretty girl in a red dress, and have a couple cool beers or something, and that hit number 2, as I said, on the world indie charts, and my new release is already charting, Ball and Chain. So
that's
it's
cool.
a little bit of momentum there, some interest. So I want to keep it going. But also give back to your community. That's what I like to do. Yeah,
That's
continue on.
definitely
Yeah.
cool, man. That's definitely cool. I'd like to say congratulations on all of those accomplishments.
Yeah, much
It's,
appreciated.
it's pretty much that's a big deal, yo. That's a big deal. Like keep it consistent. So it's definitely you're definitely doing something right. Definitely doing something. So congratulations
Yeah, and
on
stay
that.
with positive people. You know, there's a lot of negative people in the world. That's the message to my students. A lot of negative people. You know, a lot of the students that I have, you know, they want to go into healthcare. They want to go into become physiotherapists or nurses or physicians or epidemiologists or what have you.
Right.
You know, whatever you want to do in life, just you know, stay positive. Surround yourself with positive people. There's too many negative people in this world that try to drive you down and discourage you. You know, perseverance. You know, you talk about Tina Turner, right? She had we were talking about her earlier, you know, passing this year, and you know, or look at her early years with Ike Turner. You know, she had a really rough time,
Yeah,
right?
she
And
did.
you know, she persevered. She became the queen of rock, right? Because she had this goal in her mind, and that's so important in music or whatever you do in life. Set your goal, get rid of negative people in your life, surround yourself with positive people, and then you're gonna be successful. You're gonna make a difference in people's lives, right?
Definitely.
Mhm.
I have two more things. So
Okay.
two more things. So the one thing I was gonna say, I appreciate you for coming on and a great interview. And I hope everything goes well with you and congratulations on your retirement. And the second
Mhm.
thing is I would like to know your opinion on how the interview went.
Oh, I think it was excellent. I mean, I think you're an excellent host. I mean, I watched some of your other videos. You know, you have a really good vibe, really good flow,
Thanks
and
a
there's a
lot.
certain connectiveness there. You know, with the audience, like you know how to connect. You know how to ask the questions. You know, so kudos to you. You know,
Thanks a lot. Thanks a
and
lot.
again, I'm honored to be on your show. I really appreciate it. So it's been a real privilege, you know, talking with you. You know, so yeah.
Definitely. I definitely appreciate it, man.
Mhm.
Well, and then I'm gonna wrap it up. Thanks for
And
coming
if you're in the Toronto area, I owe you a lunch.
on. Thanks a lot, man. All right, you have a great one.
Okay, much appreciated. Take care.
Thanks a lot, man.
Bye bye now. Yeah. Bye bye.